Alright, this is the last one of the match here. Banquet Expedition on the side. Expedition is a nice little event, getting you a couple extra cards at the start of your next turn. On the board, again, is one of those strange boards where I'm not really sure what to do. There's Trashing and Catapult, okay. That's the only trashing, it's a bit slow. There's two Junkers, Young Witch and Soothsayer. Young Witch has a decent Bane and Warehouse, so probably you want to go after Soothsayer, especially me on the 2-5 here. Do I want to open an embargo with it? I don't think so, but I still end up buying one. Not really sure why. I think I wanted to put the embargo down on maybe Soothsayer before my opponent could get to it. Force him to take a curse that way. He opens with the Catapult and the Horse Traders. That seems pretty reasonable to me. And I get to play my Soothsayer right away. So I'm not sure at this point if I want to play a money type strategy, which is Soothsayer and money. Or do I want to try for an engine? Because there's King's Court, which helps a lot. There's Catapult, which thins. The draw is kind of lacking, as you see, right? I mean, King's Court on our farming village will draw a card, which is something. Could be significant if you are able to trash with your Catapult, maybe. And in here for my opponent, so that's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting. Haha, haha. He gets to pull back his Catapult and his Horse Traders. No, just the Catapult, I believe. So I do stick my embargo token down on the Young Witch, and I go for a King's Court here. Now I know I have one action card in the deck, so I was very hesitant to pick up that King's Court, but I still went for it. This is the purpose of the inn, right? The Catapult and the Soothsayer went back, so you get that nice little combination going there with the Soothsayer into the Catapult for the hand size reduction thing there. So pretty nice for my opponent. He seems to have quite a bit more things at this point. He has a farming village, a horse trader, a catapult, a Soothsayer, an inn. Seems like he would benefit a lot more from the King's Court than I would. Now I'm trying to play for some kind of thin deck strategy here, which is why I entertain thoughts of the catapult, but I opt for an expedition here, hoping to pair King's Court with Soothsayer. If I'm able to plant 3 curses in his deck this early, that should give me enough time to do whatever I want, nearly. Second catapult for my opponent, and unfortunately my Soothsayer does not show up with my King's Court. So it was a decent shot to get the two together, but unfortunately it didn't pan out. And I am now going to pick up a catapult, searching for the like I said, the thin deck strategy. I'm not sure if it's worth it at all, right? It might be far too gone for me here to start going for that. Like, I'm putting stop cards in my deck in the form of gold. I'm also receiving curses from my opponent. I've only just picked up a catapult, so maybe all of this is just bad. Maybe I should just be playing something like Soothsayer and money and going after provinces. Maybe castles. I'm not really sure what to do about the castles on this board. It's another pile of victory points, right? So does that mean you try to go for kind of engine thing? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So here this hand looks great, except it gets cut up by my opponent's catapult. Not thrilled about that at all. What I could have done here is kept the curse maybe, or a copper alongside the King's Court. That way I would just get a little bit more money. No, this way I get more money for sure, but 3 and 4 are nearly the same thing on the board. Well, not really. Not really at all. Never mind that. So 4 could be a farming village for me, and with my I have a couple King's Courts in my deck. Right, with that, I mean, I should probably look to be putting action cards into my deck, right? So maybe a farming village is good, horse traders is good. Instead I go for an expedition, and it shows me another lone King's Court, and not enough money even to pick up another King's Court. I say that, but King's Court mightn't be the best thing to put into my deck here. Not really sure. So at this point, I'm starting to not want to play the thin deck strategy here, and instead maybe go after some kind of money strategy. Yeah, I know it'll be playing King's Court and money, but things just aren't coming together for me here. They just aren't coming together for me to play the thin deck strategy. So maybe I just, get lots of gold and go from there, right? King's Court, putting King's Court on this soothsayer is pretty nice. I get to put 3 gold into my deck and flood my opponent. Banquet is also there if you want to play a money strategy. So here, for example, I could buy a Banquet and pick up another soothsayer on in for instance. Yes, I am good at the in jokes. So it could be a Banquet for that or any other thing, really. Could be an expedition as well. All the catapults are gone. I believe my opponent has 3 of them, I have 2. Instead, I do none of those things, I pick up a silver. So it is at this point I make up my mind to go for money at this point. I have tons of gold in the deck because I played my soothsayer 100 times. I do give my opponent a fairly decent turn here and he goes for King's Court and maybe Farming Village. Yeah. So he is in a much better position to play the thin deck thing because he's been trashing a lot more frequently with his catapults. Numerous. Plural catapults. And he's also had that big turn there with the King's Court. He has the inn. So, I mean, it seems like I'm being pushed into a position where I have to play money against an engine type deck here. Not really sure. My opponent hands out the last curse, but I'm pretty sure I won that curse split after I was able to king that soothsayer. I was also able to start playing my soothsayer before my opponent. However, here I see my King's Court with a catapult, and it allows me to clean up 3 cards from my deck, which is a lot. And I have money left over, but I said, you know what? I said I'm gonna go for money and provinces. Let's just go for the provinces now. I don't think buying more King's Courts will help me. But then I see this hand and it allows me to clean up 2 more cards from my deck. Potentially 3 if you count the gold. So that's 5, maybe 6 cards gone in one shuffle. Can I start to play this thin deck strategy again now? Can I? Is that possible? Maybe? If I can see 1 or 2 more hands like this, King's Court, Catapult, and 3 junk cards, then for sure we in the business here with trashing. Certainly in the business here with trashing. So I go for an expedition on 3 there. Now my mind is starting to swing back towards playing a thin deck strategy. So I don't know, this game was very confusing to me. I wasn't sure whether to go with the thin deck strategy or whether to go with a money type strategy. It seemed like the deck wanted me to go after money, but then it gave me a couple good hands of thinning, and so maybe it means that I should play with the engine type strategy here. I'm not sure. I'm doing some kind of weird in between thing here. I choose here to keep the soothsayer, for example, instead of the farming village. I didn't want to keep the farming village because, yeah, I didn't want to draw this guy dead. I would cry if that happened. Of course, I could have kept the soothsayer and used the King's Court on that, but I just didn't want to go down that line at all of having to draw just a single card and pin my hopes on that a little bit. So another King's Court catapult turn for me here, so that's real good news. I get my opponent to discard as well. That's excellent news. Piles are starting to look a shade thin, not so much, right? There's 3 farming villages, the curses are out, and 4 King's Court. So here, again, I could have used King's Court on catapult here. That would not have been terrible. Instead, I decided to draw with my King's Court and farming village and trash one thing here with the catapult. Maybe it should have been the curse, but I choose instead for the copper to make my opponent discard. So now I have 8 again. It could be a province, but now I go back for the King's Court. So you see my mind wavering here, right? If I was going in for the money plan, I should have stuck with it and picked up a province there, right? sensible thing to do. Instead, now I have another King's Court in my deck and not too many actions. A handful of farming villages, if that many, some catapults and soothsayers, so I'm not sure about that latest King's Court, or well, less sure about that one than the others. I do get to attack my opponent here, and I think now I'll put a farming village in the deck, just so that the King's Court has something to pair with, right? So really, I don't really know what this strategy is called. This is what this is called, right? Like sad King's Court strategy. That's pretty bad as far as things go, but I mean, like, it's a consequence of what I've been playing here, right? Consequence of what I've been playing here. I'm playing King's Court with not a lot of actions in my deck. My opponent manages to get to province there, so he seems to be coming along quite well. I use an in here to recover one of my King's Courts. If I knew I was going to do that, I should have dumped all the King's Courts into the deck, but I only thought after. And it gives me actually a very, very good hand here, hoping for no catapult from my opponent. That would make things very, very sad, and it seems like there's no catapult coming out. And expedition for my opponent. He could actually buy a couple expeditions here. I mean, I would do it, but my deck is like way different to his. And he picks up a humble castle here. So, is he angling for castles at this point? I'm not really sure. I do get to put together King here, which is lovely. What do I do for my third action? Well, I play the soothsayer. So I'm not really helping myself here, right? In the sense that I'm not giving my King's Court an opportunity to find targets. And I mean, that's a bit of an issue, right? You spend so much money and time picking up a King's Court, you would like to play it every single time. Oh well. So here, I definitely want to attack my opponent because they bought the expedition, and I have no problem trashing gold to my catapult because I just picked up 3 for the second time in the game. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Unable to play this horse traders profitably here, and I have 7 now, not quite 8, and I'm not quite sure what to do with this hand. Could be another King's Court, could be, but that's looking more and more sketchy. Could be a castle, the crumbling castle. I think I do go for the castle here. I'll get a point, I'll get a silver, and I'll get something to trash with my catapults, perhaps. So now my opponent goes for province, and I am going to follow him here on the province, I believe. I could have picked up a small castle on an expedition here. The small castle is kind of sneaky because you could gain much bigger castles with that guy, but I opted to not do that. My opponent also gets up to province here, so he has the lead by 6 points. Something I just need to keep track of in my mind here. So now I go for king on soothsayer as opposed to playing catapult, and I pick up an expedition. So my deck is full of gold at this point, right? Absolutely full of gold. And I only have the 1+ buy in the horse traders, which I don't know, I haven't used yet, I don't think. I would like to see it here, but it doesn't turn up. I have lots and lots of money here. And I'm going to attack my opponent. So 16 here actually, and 1 buy. Too bad, too bad. So here, this is for me a province. So now we are level on the point situation here, and I have province in hand. Do have province in hand, and okay, so my opponent doesn't get the province here, so I have the option of taking the province and hoping to get the province next to it, or not taking the province and buying the spooky castle here. I'd take the spooky castle because it makes him put cards back on top of his deck and worsens his hand. And I don't know what he put back, but I'm not sure if he could have gotten to that province there. And even if he was able to get to the province, it would just be a tie. No, he would win, right? So I wasn't sure if I prevented him from that province, but he did put down a couple golds, so I'm not sure. Maybe he had it in hand. Maybe picking up the spooky castle was the correct thing to do there. He comes up with 8 and goes for the sprawling. Now we're going after the castles apparently. because none of us want to touch provinces for fear of giving the other the province the last province to win. I have not King's Grand Castle here. I'm a little bit behind my opponent, and I hope he can't get to King's Castle. He bought an expedition looking for that King's Castle. I know. I see you. You're not having that expedition. Taking that away from him. And what do I buy here? Well, an expedition myself, right? Because I want the King's Castle. There's no way I could give him the King's Castle here. He would have the King's and then the Humble Castle, so that's way too much points. I don't think he actually comes up with enough for the King's Castle here. But I believe he comes up with enough for province? I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, he does come up with enough for province, so that's real scary for me here. Real scary. I have to hope he doesn't have enough money to pick up the last province, but he does. He actually has king and horse traders in his hand, so I'm not sure if I drew him into it by playing my catapult, but oh well, that's how the game ends. It was very weird to me. So the game ends 4-2 for my opponent. It leaves me at 21 points for the entire season, which is pretty damn good. I could have trashed the Crumbling Castle, but it doesn't make my opponent discard. Yeah, so 21 points is pretty good. My opponent is in the best position to catch me. He has to get 13 points from his last 3 games, so we'll see if he does that. If he doesn't do that, I'll probably finish on top of the division. However, I will not be back for season 21. I am off on a bit of a vacation, you could call it, and I don't have the time to play in the next season. So thank you all for watching. I'll probably play in the one after that though. Thanks, see you.